Welcome to the Parkland Report. My name is Seamus Riley. Joining me in this program, President Tom Ramage, President at Parkland College. Welcome back to the Parkland Report.
It's always a pleasure, Seamus, especially with you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So here we are. Another semester is kicked off and the weeks are flying by already. We are a brand new campus. We're fully up and running, and it seems like it's been here all the time. It's good to be back.
50 years. Well, not quite 50 years. Campus was established in, 73, so we've been here a good long time, but yeah, it's a special place. It's a great new semester, and we're looking forward to great things this year, no matter what the state of Illinois does to us.
Well, I guess with education today in Illinois, we kind of sort of have to talk a little bit about the state.
Sure.
We did receive some okay news, not great news, but at least okay news in terms of getting some stopgap measurement in place. And so how are we positioned right now?
Well, yeah, you're right. We did get a little bit, but our position is not great relative to years prior. We did receive about 40% of a normal year's state funding this year. And conventional wisdom has it that will be the total for the year. So in a given normal year, we receive about a little over $5 million from the state of Illinois, which is a fraction of our funding. This year, we'll probably see $1.8 million, and that's probably going to be it. And the bigger concern is how long this lasts. Is this a multi-year issue? Is this budget impasse going to affect other fiscal years, and how does one prepare for that in the face of the unknown? Fear of the unknown is quite a significant threat to a lot of people, and it certainly is to Parkland. It's far better to have at least, even if it's bad news, at least some idea of what the news is, and that's absent today.
One of the things, though, that is great is the students come back. We have, our numbers are not too bad. I mean, comparable to other community colleges, better than a lot. But the students bring back a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, and our faculty and staff seem certainly very comfortable with engaged in the new surroundings and new facilities that we have, and it's a good atmosphere.
I agree. Yeah, we've been down for, in terms of enrollment, for maybe about 4 or so years. But really all of Illinois and certainly the nation is experiencing sort of that downward trend, which somewhat, I think, correlates to the economy and unemployment rates. But I suppose the good news is we're down a little less than we normally are. And the trend seems to be maybe evening out or possibly even reversing at this point. But yeah, Parkland is, despite the state issues and despite maybe a 4-year downward trend in enrollment, the college is certainly doing fine. We'll be around for quite another 50 years at least.
So speaking of that, while we're maybe not so sure what the future holds, we certainly have been doing a lot of time and reflecting on what the past has been for
Right.
Parkland College. We're celebrating this year our 50th anniversary since founding in '66. Great opportunity to meet lots of folks in our district, to get out, to hear back from alums and former students and faculty and staff, and capped off with a pretty spectacular gala.
Very much agreed. I've told the story once or twice. I've been at Parkland for about 20 years, almost 20 years now, but only the last 9 or so as president. And so for the first part of my career at the college, I always had a sense, I think like almost all of our faculty and staff do, that Parkland was a pretty good place. It was pretty well regarded in the community, certainly looked at as a leader statewide and perhaps even nationally. But it wasn't until I started doing more work external to the college in my current role that I really heard the stories or the personal impact from community members, from the almost 300,000 graduates that we've had in the last 50 years, about the depth and breadth of the good feeling they have about the college. And certainly that's been reflected in our 50th year anniversary celebration activities this past year, whether it's out at a community's county fair, or the participation in our gala, or the huge number of people that have stepped up and funded a scholarship in particular this year for a student that makes the difference between them being able to stay in school or not. Mm-hmm. It's been extraordinarily rewarding from maybe a watching perspective at how well the community, how much they appreciate this institution.
And it seems that, like, for the foundation, the role of the foundation is going to be of increasing importance as we go forward.
Sure.
Both in terms of scholarships and perhaps maybe also looking at how other four-year institutions look at using their foundation for
Right.
fundraising.
Yeah, I certainly think so. The need for scholarships is ever increasing as tuition goes up. inevitably for a number of different reasons, hopefully not as much at Parkland. It becomes, even at $157.50 a credit hour, it's difficult to afford for a good part of our student population. But I think we've also seen an increase in interest from our community in terms of helping us out with both technology and facilities. In the last couple of years, we've had 3 major naming opportunities happen for Applied Technology Center, the Fitness Center and Gymnasium, and most recently our theater. Those structures already existed, but being able to put a family name on those buildings in order to help make them stay viable, to upgrade the technology that are in those buildings, that removes a huge burden from the college. Things go bad after 40 years, they need to be replaced.
Sure.
And they help us do that, our patrons, most definitely.
Well, it certainly helps us in terms of advancing sort of new technology and bringing in new equipment that is obviously impossible to get now with the lack of state capital dollars and investment in infrastructure. So I think we've done it in the past with places like the Tony Knoll and
Right.
different other sort of named benefactors. So it seems to be, it's going to be really, really important. You know, the community colleges have sort of enjoyed quite a bit of the limelight in the last couple of years, sort of nationally. I know internationally, community colleges are well renowned around the world. Lots of people visit us here to learn about our model and think about ways in which they can use it in their own countries. But it seems to me that even as we are very aware of the value of community colleges as an asset in our country, it seems like still people are not quite as willing to just take those first 2 years and come to a community college and forgo the first 2 years of 4 school. Not because they shouldn't go to a 4-year university off the bat, or not because it's not a great experience, but in terms of the quality of the education and the actual economic value for many of our students, it's really a great opportunity. What can we do to continue to make people aware of that and convince them to come here?
Yeah, I think the best way is certainly word of mouth in a community like this. We have multiple ways in which that occurs. You have students that are University of Illinois students, for example, or Eastern or Illinois State or wherever, that choose to come back to Parkland for a variety of reasons, to pick up a course or two, usually in the general education area, whether it's calculus or chemistry or physics. And our reputation institutionally for transferring credits back to wherever that home institution is phenomenal in multiple regards. One, those institutions accept credit from Parkland without question. And number 2, they understand the quality of the instruction. That if a student has an A or a B in a physics course, they're well prepared to be successful in whatever the following course is. And I think that's been true for 50 years. You know, we've not had a transfer course that's been deemed a transfer course unless the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign accepts it first. And that bar is pretty high. So that reputation, I think, is something that we're very protective of, and it's something that precedes each and every student that finishes a course, a certificate, or a degree at Parkland College.
One of the interesting things in terms of the Parkland Foundation putting up alumni spotlights on Facebook and other social media is just to see some of the stories of those people who were here. They've gone on to do incredible things in the world. It's
all
incredible.
walks of life, from doctors to professional sports athletes, business owners, healthcare professionals. The range is huge and impressive. I was, again, not aware fully of the extent of the reach of this college, but after 50 years, you might expect some pretty huge success stories.
And one of the things, of course, as well, is that many of our students remain in our community, or at least in the state for sure. And that has a great impact on how we might proceed to sort of engage them more as we go forward into the next decade.
I would agree. You know, we talked a little bit about the transfer side, but there's, the whole other half of the college. People who take certificate and degree programs that are designed to place them immediately into jobs in the community. I think the last number I saw was somewhat north of 90% of the students that graduate from Parkland stay in Illinois, and some 80% stay within our district of 3,000 square miles. So my point there is that there are friends, there are neighbors, there are colleagues, there are coworkers. They're the people that are going to take care of you when your car has an issue, or if you have a health issue. They're going to be the ones on the front line making sure we're okay. And what a great thing to be able to have a part in that.
While we certainly are aware that, people want to get skills that will allow them to get jobs immediately, many of our students are returning incumbent workers, coming back to get a second degree or a second credential. It's not just the actual getting the job, it's providing a venue for people to
grow,
get skills,
Sure.
continue to improve.
Absolutely.
A huge part of supporting our economy and making us attractive for employers as they come into the...
I would agree. There's very few jobs that exist today that don't require professional growth and development, and whether that's coming back to take a credit course or a new degree, or through our business training or community ed functions where we customize training based on the needs of a particular business and industry. That's a core function of a community college. It's one of the reasons the name community is in our movement. We're designed to be responsive to community needs, and if we're not doing that, a whole big part of our mission is unrealized.
We're going to talk a little bit about some of the innovative things that are going on in the classroom when we return, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Today's program is the Lost Dutchman's Gold Mine, or the search for the Lost Dutchman's Gold Mine.
Today we came for leadership training or guidance, I guess, and we split off in groups and had to do a little exercise. It was actually a game where we pretended to be gold miners, and we had to communicate with each other and collaborate with each other.
It was a nice team building exercise where separated into groups, and we each had to figure out a plan of action for making it to a specified destination and spend the most amount of time there and collect as much resources as we could, and then make it back to our starting point again.
Lost Dutchman's Gold Mine is an opportunity for them to do a 20-day expedition where they go out into the wilderness to mine gold. They have to manage their resources, manage their fuel consumption, and in this process they have to learn what resources they have, what resources they need, how can we share and collaborate with other teams to maximize our efficiencies. And as is typically the case, we get to the end of the expedition and we find out that although teams did well, they could have done better. If only they had taken the time to share the resources, if they'd taken the time to ask the questions.
We won, technically, I guess you could say, but we lost the overall picture of the actual resource.
They really come into this without any information. In fact, this is one of those classes where I share very little information prior to the class, specifically for that reason. We want to give them the opportunity. You look at today's group, they came in, we had 6 teams set up, and you could tell every department from the organization based upon where they were. Purchasing all sat together, sales all sat together. They tend to put themselves into these smaller teams and then compete internally against each other for resources, and that really sub-optimizes performance for the organization.
I came in expecting more of just a structured type lecture, I guess, on leadership, and came out with eye-opening experience.
I hope they take from this that we need to work together, we need to communicate more, we need to open up the lines of communication for effective teamwork. Organizations are not about what an individual can do, it's about what the team can do, how we together perform. And we really need organizations to move to that next level. The next level consists of people openly communicating, sharing information, working for what's best for the bigger good, the organization, as opposed to my shift, my team, my department.
Takeaway from today would be just that to not focus on, I guess in my case, the office, focus on the entire plant as far as what can make everyone better, not just my office better.
Not to be so competitive, that there's a bigger picture to it versus the main goal, and you think that the main goal is to get all of the gold and you forget the biggest picture, and that's working together with other people.
I think it was a great exercise. It's very beneficial. Go in with an open mind, because I know a lot of these training sessions that a lot of companies do are not as good as this one, not nearly close.
Developmental Services Center is looking for direct support professionals to support people with disabilities to enjoy a life full of opportunities and greater independence. If you want to make a difference in someone's life every day and you are looking for a rewarding career opportunity, come work with us.
Come work with us.
Come work with us.
For more information about these rewarding opportunities, please visit our website or give us a call.
Come work with us.
Welcome back to the Parkland Report. Joining me here, Dr. Tom Ramage, President of Parkland College. We've been talking a lot about the history of the college, but we got to move forward. You can't stop still. Let's talk a little bit about some of the changes, innovations in terms of the innovative classroom space, 2 new innovative spaces. Talk a little bit about it because you've got some experience of technology in the classroom.
Well, maybe 15 years ago, Seamus, but sure. No, we have, just as you mentioned it, 2 new spaces that came open as a result of our campus master plan, where we've added about 250,000 square feet in new space to the institution. By doing that, certain units and offices have shifted into new space, thereby opening up opportunities to redesign or rethink about the spaces that were vacated. And a good number of them have been, well, actually were classrooms way back originally when the campus was built, that we've converted into other functions as need presented itself over the last 20 or so years. We've had the ability to move some of those spaces back into classroom or instructional facilities. And I think one of the most interesting conversions or renovations of those spaces was put out by our professional development and IT, Instructional Technology Group, PDIT, to use at least 2 of those classrooms in an innovative way to make a classroom that you're not sure even looks like a classroom. There are no desks or rows of chairs, there's no whiteboard necessarily, but it's a group of seating areas that are focused around technology points, whether that's a flat screen monitor or a projector or some other bit of technology that students can work in groups very flexibly. The room can be rearranged, students' attention can be focused on one side of the room for a minute and then totally shifted to another side depending on what's happening. So very, very open, very flexible, very creative spaces, hence the name Innovative Learning Spaces, that have been extremely popular. Last I heard that they were booked the entire semester by our faculty, and I think the demand is for more.
So, you know, I think oftentimes when we use technology, especially in education, I think it sort of sometimes gets a bad rap, like, oh,
Yeah.
this sort of, expensive toys. But really, when we do sort of these innovative sort of teaching spaces, we're really preparing people for the workforce, right? I mean, that's how people work in the real world,
Right,
in
right.
small collaborative groups, often at a remove of thousands of miles because they're working electronically. So while it may seem to somebody on the outside like that's a strange looking space, it doesn't look like the classroom I went to, really we're trying to bridge that gap between what happens in the instructional space and the real world that our students
Very
are going
much so.
into.
Very much so. And one of the concerns I hear quite a bit is making sure the technology works. Nobody wants to walk into a teaching situation or as a student, as a presenter, and not have the technology work. But that's the beauty of it, is we know it's not always going to work, but when you're in the workplace, as you mentioned, it's not going to work there all the time either. And you may or may not have somebody who's standing next to you that knows how to fix it. So that ability to troubleshoot whatever issue you're having on the fly, not that we're encouraging that,
Sure.
but certainly it happens, and that's part of life, and a good critical thinking opportunity.
And we're both aware of how much technology impacts everybody in terms of like with the smartphones and how much people are prepared to do on their phones now compared
Right.
to what they did. I have been struck by, while we've always been nervous about sort of bring your own device or putting the burden on the students to provide technology, as I walk around the campus, how many of our students have technology, laptops or whatever?
Right.
And we make great efforts in our bookstore to make sure that students have access to a
Certainly.
pretty cheap, high quality
Right.
computer.
Dell, I think, is the brand that we have in the store, and the most affordable model, I think, was $320.
Yes.
which is pretty darn affordable. I remember when I was going to school way back when, that I could not get a laptop for $320, or even the adjusted for inflation equivalent.
Right.
It was more like 20 times that price. Things have changed quite a bit.
Yes,
quite a bit.
It's really interesting. Speaking of change, I mean, there's a couple of sort of exciting things going on the faculty side. Jenny Fridgen and her precision agriculture program. Parkland College was a recipient for the first time of an individual National Science Foundation grant, incredibly prestigious award. Talk a little bit about this sort of ability for faculty to be competitive and also advance the science
Sure.
they're working in.
Well, agriculture and precision ag in particular has been a focal point for Parkland College, and you would assume that given our location in the country and sort of the surrounding farmland, the quality of the farmland, and the ag community. And I'm not talking just about farmers, but the ag community writ large. It's huge. Jenny was able to, again, write to the National Science Foundation to help support a program that will clearly be the future of agriculture, and that is precision ag. And there are so many aspects of precision ag that we could probably do a whole show on what that entails, or Jenny could. But the idea that the technology that's available to the ag community today to make the job not only easier but more efficient, less costly, more productive, that whole range of economic factors is unbelievable, and the speed at which it's changing is dramatic. We talk about computers change. This is quite amazing. From the technologies that's inside of a combine, which is sort of old news these days, to the use of drones and satellite imagery and curated application of, I'm not a farmer, so my words are somewhat
Nitrogen
wrong.
fertilizer.
Exactly, the inputs, the things
Yes,
that make the crops grow. You can control that very, very carefully and in a precision way to make sure that you're not putting too much here or not enough there. Pretty amazing.
So Parkland is really lucky in that it has that space around campus, that they
Right.
have got sort of like demonstration plots. Students can actually go out and growing. I know we have the original soybeans from when they
Right.
were first imported in here. The fact that we have access to some of the machinery that we can look at and work on and use and demonstrate for the students.
It's a perfect confluence of events, isn't it?
Huge advantage for our students as we go
We
forward.
have great faculty, a partnership with Monsanto, a partnership with Case IH to bring, I think it's $6 million worth of their newest technology onto campus, take it all the way at the end of the year and bring in a new set. That's rare and an amazing opportunity. You mentioned our land lab and the soybeans in particular. I was out there, again, not being a farmer, it was very interesting to see the improvements in the hybrids over time. They planted 1 row or 2 rows of soybeans that were from a seed that was popular 50 years ago or thereabouts to today's, and you could visually see the difference in the size and the number of beans per plant very, very quickly in our demonstration plots. I think that's something that students maybe at other institutions don't have as nearly as readily accessible to them as they do at Parkland.
Well, certainly that immediate ability to be able to see with your own eyes and begin to notice the difference is
Right.
one of the key pieces that farmers need. I always tell people about Parkland that, in terms of the utilization of technology and GIS systems and GPS, that, we were the first in the state to do it. You mentioned UAS and drones and the application of drones. Parkland also is now engaged, has had a couple of different classes, is really interested in the application of drones. I'm not surprised, others might be, that the first real application, probably practically and commercially, is going to be in agriculture. That's a real good opportunity for us, I think, to develop some things here.
Most definitely. The fact that we also have an aviation program certainly ties in very well, as some of the new federal restrictions about the use of drones require some licensure and maybe a test at the end. And the fact that we have faculty that are flight instructors allows for a very easy transition, creation of a course that is largely, it looks sort of like ground school, sort of the rules that are around aviation, and then certainly the more specific pieces in how to use a drone appropriately. Those classes have been full, overflowing. Huge interests, again, both in the ag community and also private business. If you think about real estate, what better way to show the outside of a home on a website that somebody's got to list a house than to fly a drone around it. It gives you a great perspective. It's fabulous. And I think the uses of those drones, we're only touching the tip of the iceberg at the minute.
Right. I mean, some of the things I've been reading about, like where farmers talked about walking fields of beans and,
Right.
and walking. Now we're talking about using drone technology with special developed sensors to indicate where there's a deficiency of fertilizer
Right.
or where there's a potential blight on the field. These are the tools I think that farmers are going to be utilizing in the future.
I agree. I was talking to a gentleman who owns a business in the area who's using or contemplating using drones for inspections of towers.
Mm-hmm.
So in the past, somebody had to perform a very dangerous job of climbing a very tall tower, whether it's a radio or a television or cell phone tower, to inspect antennas. And think about it in the dead of winter when something breaks. We could send up a drone very cheaply and very safely to do roughly the same sort of inspection. I would have never dreamed of that.
One of the things I think also that's interesting is this technology and the confluence of all kinds of other academic programs. So, you certainly have agriculture, that's obvious, but you've also got engineering science coming in here. You've got science, you've got data, you've got math. I mean, it's almost like the technology, just a little bit maybe like when computers became
Right.
sort of prevalent everywhere. It's an interesting way in which the academy sort of moves forward and begins to adjust and flex to the new technology that's coming.
Very much agree. Look at one more aspect of the community that's changing, and that's a medical school over at the university in conjunction with Carl. That will have impact on what we do at Parkland, whether it's growth in the allied health programs that support a medical school or an increased need for technicians, whether it's microbiology or biotech, or simple phlebotomy or nurses. All that's offered here at Parkland to certainly varying degrees. But as the world changes, back to our mission, so does the community college to help our community cope with those changes.
Well, we're very proud of every single aspect of our college, and you mentioned our health professions, and just this week a national award for the surgical technology program for its success, 5 years, 100% success rate. I mean, that's another testament to the work that we do. I also want, because I'm a little biased, but to talk a little bit about our arts, our theater arts and fine and applied arts, and just some really, really interesting things. Our faculty exhibit is just wrapping up.
Right.
We are very lucky. We have some fantastic artists in town. That's a great way as well to engage the community, I think.
I would very much agree. If you've not been to the art gallery at Parkland College, you're missing out, especially around the times when those new shows are installed. And we have one coming up tomorrow night, a reception to look at some of the work that's in the theater at the moment. We've had, from a student and a faculty perspective, some absolutely amazing artists that have either come through our program or that have taught or are currently teaching in our arts program. We could probably talk about that for a whole show as well, and maybe that's a good idea. But the one that comes to mind is Don Lake, who taught here from the very beginnings of Parkland College and just retired a few years ago. A renowned watercolor artist. I have maybe a couple of pictures of his, one in my office and one at home that I will treasure forever. And to be able to have that quality caliber of faculty here teaching students who, again, go on to do great things is certainly a testament to our program.
And maybe one of our own alums who recently got a Student Academy Award.
Absolutely, on the digital side,
Peg
right?
Boyce's son in the animation
Carter
program.
Boyce got a Bronze Academy Award, Student Academy Award for his digital animation, got his start first 2 years here at Parkland.
Well, wonderful. Thanks so much for being here today.
Absolutely.
We look forward to the next time. That's it for this edition of Parkland Report. We'll see you back here next time.